Well, hey, shit, man, it's been crazy. It's been going really well. Like last couple of weeks, basically, we had this quote on a leak in our ceiling, and the guy was like $5,800, and this other guy came out and he had a drone, and he found a fucking 357 shell like directly above where my leak was, and he's like, yeah, this will be like $5,000 less than what that asshole said. And I was like, oh, that's fucking awesome. And then basically, work's been going really great. Seen a couple of good shows there and stuff. Like, I've been meeting some really interesting people at work. A little bit of social active, kind of stuff. Uh, just all kinds of just. It's been weirdly good given the state of things. You know what I mean? It's just been really strange. It's been good to have this break. I'm thankful for that. I've been playing playing Starfield, having a blast. Just having a blast, going around, going to planets. Everything's been really working out. How about you guys?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Fuck this whole thing. This whole thing can go burn in a goddamn fire. Let me tell you about this fucking book.
Son of a
my God.
dick.
Just don't know.
There's no need for an artist to apologize about just giving us something that is passionate and beautiful and funny or any of those. No need to apologize for that. So the historian says it's not my business, and the businessman says it's not my business, and the lawyer says it's not my business, and the artist says it's not my business, and whose business is it? You don't leave the business of the most important issues in the world to the people who run the country? I mean, how stupid can you be? I see all sorts of people who are doing this and doing that and doing this and doing that. Where are the citizens among us?
And we're back. This is the Low Life Podcast. Let's just get the ads out front real quick. Go to neondystopia.com for new fiction, one of which is by our compatriot Scum, who will not be joining us on this episode as far as we know. I don't know. He can pop in at any time, but he got a new job. He's tired. He's allowed to do stuff. But yeah, he wrote a story. A bunch of other people have written stories. If you like it, they're free to read. But if you want, kick us a buck. You can go to patreon.com/neondystopia. Do that there. It really helps out. Keeps the lights on. Spread the word. Tell people about it. It's just a buck. I know. It's a fucking 20% of a gallon of gasoline. But
depending on where you live.
Depending on where you live.
On that one.
Yeah. I saw
your mileage may literally vary.
There was some meme about it where, like, my truck only used to hold $68 worth of fuel, but now under Trump it holds $150. What else can you do?
Oh, Jesus.
Well, I don't know how he does it.
Anyway,
this one weird trick.
Why are we doing this episode? I haven't read it, done any research or anything. So,
I think maybe we should just clarify that. Can you be honest with the audience and tell them why you had a pleasant 3 weeks and the rest of us may have had less than a pleasant?
Yeah, I guess you guys were reading some book, I guess, and it was fun or not fun.
Coin Ops did not do the assignment.
Yeah, I refuse to. I needed a break.
I apologize. This is my fault. So let's go back in time. There's this platform called X, and on X, Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, put out these 22, what was it, like his 22 theses or something like that?
22 points. I got
22
here.
points, yeah.
You can go over them.
And
I think this is where it got onto most people's radar, was when you released the 22 points. That's when it got onto like my radar, and I was like, hey guys, there's this crazy fucking thing. And that's when Gru was like, actually, it's crazier than you think.
Yeah. Oh, it gets so much worse. There's a book that it comes from. And
so it's the 22
I was like,
theses.
And because I'm an asshole, I sat down I sat down and suggested we all read this book and not just have a knee-jerk reaction, not just say, fuck this, but really engage with the intellectual argument of this. And I got 15% into the book and I was throwing it against the wall saying, fuck this book. What the... So we're going to talk about it. So strap in.
Mm-hmm. It's time for the Technological Republic.
That's it. The title,
yes.
Right? The title. That's the part now.
By Dr.
So
Alexander Karp.
The title of the book is The Technological Republic: Hard Power, Soft Belief in the Future of the West, which sounds like a Cialis commercial, but okay, we'll roll with it.
Yeah.
It's by
Side effects,
Alexander.
clues.
Big time ED vibes.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Please see a doctor if you have an erection lasting more than 4 hours.
Right. Alexander Karp and Nicholas s6e6 are the authors. It was published last year, February 18th, 2025. It was, quote, an instant New York Times bestseller, which just means that someone bought all the copies.
Yep.
Yeah,
And it was an NPR...
Nobody really noticed it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. And it was an NPR Best Book of the Year. It's billed as part memoir, part cultural criticism, and part policy manifesto. And
I'm sorry, there's no memoir in this.
So it's
there's
my
Yeah, I was
Facebook page
about to
gives
ask
a
where the
fuck.
memoir came in.
right.
human
Right.
would-
So,
Carry on.
so just kind of going into who these people are who wrote this. Of course, Alex Karp, co-founder and CEO of Palantir. He has a PhD in philosophy from the Goethe University in Frankfurt. He's not a coder and he's not a typical CEO. He intended to study under Jürgen Habermas, but ended up being supervised by sociologist Carola Brede. I'm going to get these names terribly wrong. He met Peter Thiel at Stanford Law, which is how he wound up in Thiel's orbit. His public persona is that of the eccentric philosopher king. He does Tai Chi. He quotes Heidegger and Nietzsche in shareholder letters. He's a douche.
In his fucking introduction, he quotes Goethe.
Yeah.
He's like, he thinks a lot of himself.
This
If I can add a little color, if I can translate a little bit, the guy's like, he's a failed academic. He went to study, and this is going to be really important when we come into this. He went to study under this guy who basically, like, the philosophy that they believe in is you can only understand the world through argument.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of frames his worldview and why he thinks everything has to come to conflict and why he believes in this like zero-sum game of world domination that apparently is like underlying everything in this book.
Oh, so he's
he's a
just
failed
Steven
academic.
Crowder with more money.
And the thing about the university that I thought was quite funny was he went to this university to study with the fella you just said whose name
Habermas. Yeah, Habermas.
And Habermas read the guy's thesis and said, not only will I not mentor you for this thesis, but I don't think you should go to school here anymore.
yeah.
You have to be a special kind of student when a professor tells you, you should really just fuck all the way off.
Have you ever thought about being a baker?
So he was, in 2024, he was the highest paid CEO of a publicly traded U.S. company with compensation in $6.8 billion. He describes himself, get this, as left of center, but has soured on the Democrats over Israel, anti-Semitism, and immigration, and rails against woke ideology.
It seems to have a little bit of a break with reality.
Most of these guys.
After October 7th.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of a breaking point for him. And everyone's reaction to that didn't kind of settle with his opinion of what things should be.
Yeah.
I don't want to gloss over Nicholas s6e6 here because he is a co-author. He's Karp's deputy and head of corporate affairs at Palantir. He went to Yale and Yale Law School. He's a former Wall Street Journal reporter in Asia. He did health and pharma coverage. He's the legal counsel to the office of the CEO. And in practical terms, he's the writing muscle. So he did the majority of the writing. Karp is the thesis, but s6e6 wrote the prose.
It's kind of like how James Patterson writes novels these days.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking Alexander Karp, is that his real name? Because like when I became a subgenius, I changed my name to Alexander Salamander just because it rhymed. Salamander is better than Karp. It's for picking animals.
I suspect that most people who listen to us know who Palantir is, but I'm going to do this just for completeness.
For the 5 of you who don't, it's okay.
Palantir was founded in 2003 with CIA In-Q-Tel money. It's named after Tolkien's Seeing Stones because, of course, it is.
Mm-hmm. And that's like the CIA's venture capital fund, basically.
Yeah, it is. They built a big data analytics software originally for counterterrorism. So the NSA, FBI, CIA, DoD. Now it powers
all of the 3-letter agencies.
Right. Now it powers ICE deportations. The NYPD is really military targeting and battlefield systems in Ukraine.
It's basically a CRM customer resource management system on top of several other already existing government systems, correct?
More or less. Yeah. The thing that its real claim to fame is correlating data. Mm-hmm. So, and being able to make predictions based on that data. When you've got a large enough data set, you can create incredible connections. And I don't know if you remember when...
whether there's real or not.
Correlation is not causation. But remember when Discord was going to partner with Persona to do age verification? Mm-hmm. Persona is a Palantir company.
Right.
Of course it is.
And if you give your ID to Persona, they will run your information against 265 separate databases to build a profile on you, which then they will share with the government and other corporations. So the book is equal parts a recruiting tool, an investor doc, and a worldview statement, all rolled into one. And so here is the elevator pitch.
There's something about it that reads very much like a prospectus. I've read through.
Yep. You're absolutely right.
You're correct.
Very prospective manifesto adjacent. It's weird.
I did manage to put the argument into one paragraph. So I'm gonna read that, and then we're gonna open up the floor for discussion.
Great.
So here's the one paragraph summary of this book. America won the 20th century because Silicon Valley and the government were the same project. Radar, the bomb, the transistor, the moon, the internet, all of it came out of the state telling smart engineers what problem to solve and paying them to solve it. And somewhere around 1970, we decided that was gross. And the engineers stopped building for the nation and started building for the consumer, which is a fair statement, I gotta say. We got better at shopping carts instead of rockets. Meanwhile, the Chinese did not have our hang up about collective purpose, and now AI is arriving as the defining weapon of the century, and we are unserious about our technology now. The fix is a return to the old marriage of tech and state, with a culture willing to say out loud that some values, some ways of organizing a society are better than others. Palantir is that proof of concept, and this book is the theory of how to do it. So, what'd you think of the book?
I loved it.
How many times can I say
have to
fuck
read
in an hour?
Yeah, that was great to not have to read.
There was just a lot of times where I was questioning if it was actual if some of these things were written from a stance of naivete, or if they are really trying to sell some of these cause-effect relationships, or some of these just cause. We're not going to talk about the effect.
I think you've got a really good point there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there were, as I was reading this, there were arguments that were absolutely there were statements that were absolutely true. The fact that we did go to a consumer-based thing, and the fact that but they would do this thing where they would say, well, the problem is that we got away from building big projects for the state to move the country forward, and we pivoted to consumer products, and now everybody just wants to do shopping on their iPhone. And then they would pivot and say, and because of that, we need mass drivers on the moon. And it was like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
back the truck up.
Yeah.
Well, that question of is it naivety? Let me ask a question. Given that we've covered a lot of these libertarian types that want to start their own society or fucking buy a cruise ship or like whatever, and then they ultimately reinvent the society they escaped through first principles. Is this that again? They're just trying to reinvent society or fix society from first principles because they're so distant from it.
There's a lot of objectivism in this. There's a lot of Ayn Rand. I mean, it reads it reads a little bit like Atlas Shrugged in that when you get into the third part of the book about the engineering mindset, what they're really saying is engineers need to be running things because they know how to build things.
Yeah, and I think I was calling it Atlas Cucked for a little while.
Yeah. And there are four parts to the book: the software century, which is kind of the diagnosis. The hollowing out of the American mind, which is that the 60s and 70s and that the 60s and 70s and 80s really people moved away from, and you saw this after Vietnam. People just didn't trust the government anymore. Vietnam, Nixon, all that. And so it was hard to be proud to be an American. And that's part of one of the things that they're talking about.
Kind of, you hit on it right there. There was the exposure to what our tax dollars and engineering was actually doing in Vietnam via, massive media coverage, which honestly is echoed in what happened after October 7th with media coverage on, independent platforms that was getting through. It had a big similar effect that scared a lot of people and scared Alex Karp, obviously.
Yeah.
There's a third part, which is called the engineering mindset, which is about, basically it's the Palantir chapter. It's how their culture works, why it works, and why the country needs to adopt it. And then the fourth part, which is building the technological republic. So it's the prescription. It's tech has to enter the hard sectors, defense, policing, medicine, education, and the state has to absorb the engineering mindset. And it's again, you've got objectivism, but you've also kind of got some Heinlein in here.
Yeah.
There's that militaristic kind of everybody needs to get behind the state. And the funny thing about this is that in some ways I don't necessarily disagree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, but the problem is, and they never talk about it. And I think, Howard, I'm sorry, Zero, I think you were going to, no names. I think that
I'm Dan.
You've kind of hit upon it. We acknowledge that people lost faith after Vietnam and Nixon. Mm-hmm. They never addressed that. They gloss completely over that. Mm-hmm. As if the 60s and 70s just sort of happened and everyone turned away from nationalism,
He makes a not terrible argument that tech should serve the nation state, okay? Mm-hmm. But he really does not say what it is he believes the nation state should serve. Because it's not really saying that the nation state should serve its people. He's not really saying that nation state should serve capital. He's kind of chastising it for that, but not offering any alternative and not saying that equality is even a problem. It's really kind of blasé.
Well, it's crazy for these cats to put these things out as if there isn't this larger context where government, most officials, any party, doesn't matter, have forgotten the idea that you're a public servant. Yeah. Like you're supposed to be fulfilling a function. You're supposed to keep the water clean. You're supposed to make sure people are healthy. Like so you're supposed to basically do these baseline things, and they don't do it. He talks about this
a little bit, but it's really obvious reading this that he is very bought into the great man theory of history. That shit wouldn't happen without certain individuals who, through breeding or circumstance or yada yada yada, make stuff happen. Where I have always believed that it's just like a stewing pot, and it doesn't matter if it was this guy; it would be a different guy that would eventually do it. And had situations been different, there would be a different guy who had invented their phone. Had situations been different, there would have been a different Hitler. They had another guy in the wings that was basically the same dude.
Yeah.
If he didn't work out,
well, it's like the guy that'll replace Netanyahu is he's a psychopath.
I think it's their finance minister, but I know who you're talking about.
Same thing here. You think Vance is going to be a sensible dude if a blood clot does its thing?
Mm-hmm. And the other thing he talks about in that regard, as far as public officials, he does a big we shouldn't be so we shouldn't pick on our public officials so much. We should just let them be kind of
I think that's all we should do.
People with horrible attitude,
You don't
Again,
deserve that fucking position. You need to earn it.
Feel 100% different on this. I think if you are in the public eye, if you put yourself in the public eye, you need to be above reproach. You should have an open book if you want to be in that position where you're going to have that kind of power. I don't believe that we should, turn a blind eye to the personal deplorable habits that people may have. I think if you're going to be in the public eye, then you should not have anything that you are ashamed about, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think these guys are. Man, I can't believe y'all read this.
Well, to be honest, I didn't finish it. I just got to points like, you know what? Nah.
Yeah. And sadly, I had a similar reaction. Is that I got a good way of the way through it, and then I was just like, I'm not buying what he's selling, and I see the argument he's making, and it's very it is elitism, but a different kind of elitism. Mm-hmm. It's the idea that it's the same kind of thing you've heard Musk say, that quote, the smart people, unquote, should run everything.
Yeah. But who are and the smart people are always coincidentally billionaires.
Billionaires.
It's amazing.
The academia tech alliance going on here. Like it's really not a position that people who have spent time in the real world would be.
Yeah.
Well, and he has.
Did one of you guys post something in the Discord about the age of the anti-intellectual nerd?
Yeah, that's been floating around for a little while, but it's the nerds that are again. Well, and that actually, I want to talk about Karp's contempt for certain things comes through really strong. He has a lot of contempt for late capitalist consumer hordes. People just buying things. Now, some of these things I have contempt for too. So, but also sports fans, celebrity followers, fashion consumers, teachers, and quote educators. He uses quote educators as like a slur throughout this whole thing. Humanities academics, especially, and this is where we get into.
He indicts all these things without offering any kind of alternative or how things should be different or what is respectable, other than don't go after politicians. Don't go after
Wait a minute. Did you say did you say he was like he was like he hated like sports figures and celebrities,
sports fans? Well, basically the great
anything that brings you joy.
Well, no, all of the things he failed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's the thing. I don't like sports. Because I don't really have any RAM to be giving a shit about anything other than the fact that we live in the era of Shohei Ohtani. Okay, mm-hmm. That's it. That's the only thing. And Wembayama, he's an interesting guy.
Hang it up.
I like Wembayama being interviewed. He's a funny guy, but I don't know who they even fucking play for, honest to God. Mm-hmm. And I don't follow them. I'm just. It's the rise of legalized gambling has killed sports for me more than anything, because I can't trust the outcome of any game. I don't care. You know what I mean? I kind of get that. But I don't think he's coming at it from that direction. You know what I mean?
No. And, it's kind of funny because, I have a certain amount of contempt for people who spend all their time on reality TV and, all that kind of stuff. But that's, I also don't believe I should be running the show here.
Right. No. But, hey, however you got to unplug.
Right. And that's, that's a me thing. That's not a society is wrong thing. But he gets on the whole educator thing. And it's really strange that this guy who has this doctorate in philosophy,
I was going to say, he's
really anti-humanities. He's very anti-human dignity. It's very strange.
He thinks philosophies are laws.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason he doesn't come up with any solid sort of here's what we need to do kind of plan, because if he's going to slag on the educators and the academics, that's him. So if you're going to replace them, who do you replace him with?
Here's what that kind of boils down to for me, as far as why he's pushing up against that sort of thing. Oh God, I lost it. Somebody else.
Well, does he? Okay, so he hates humanities. Is he the target audience for all this AI slop then?
I mean, maybe. Here's the. He says that basically that quote educators are the producers of safetyism and fragility.
What is it? What define your terms?
Right. Well, just
fish.
Yeah. Right. He's very against academic administrators. Talking
Now
about
that
the
one I might be able to get behind.
Right,
I mean, like, here's the thing. He's halfway there on a
He's
lot
not
of this
wrong
stuff.
about a lot of his stuff. That's
Yeah.
the truth of it.
Like,
Well,
yes,
yeah,
we should
and-
look at these things, but
Well, he's anti-lawyers, especially in government, which is another one of those things that it was so hard to read this because, again, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm with you. Wait, what? What do you want to do about it? And he reminds me a lot of the unhinged nerds that I knew in high school that never got dates, spent all their time in their little world, and were literally sour that they weren't jocks. Now, I was not a jock. I was one of those nerds. I played D&D. I was in musical theater, all this kind of stuff. But these are the guys that the nerds that I'm thinking of are the ones who didn't engage with the humanities, that didn't understand literature or didn't engage with art and didn't see the human condition as a thing to be valued instead of a thing to be triumphed over.
right.
And he's got this really regimented idea. Like when he starts, at one point, he begins to talk about hive mentality and trying to
drone
have
swarms.
companies
Right.
function more like hives, which
That
only
whole
works if you don't have free will.
illustration about the bees and the
Yes.
scouts and
Yeah.
He didn't
And-
want to straight up get sued for just talking about the Borg.
Right.
He's into the Borg Queen.
Well, and that's his point is that, everybody should be able to do whatever it takes to get the thing done, except that it presupposes that he's the one in charge.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if
Or
the
people
same
like
thing,
him, yeah.
if the same thing were to happen and he wasn't in charge, he would be leading the rebellion.
Right.
It's another one of those fascism by any other name. So he really is against civil liberties advocates and activists.
Towards that point, and again, I think why the student protest thing kind of broke him. He makes this argument later in the book about that Palantir should be used to bring down crime, which I'm not going to get into how much of a straw man argument this bullshit is about crime being down. Crime is on a 40-year trend down from peaks in like the late 80s and 90s, and it has been. And part of that is because of tech, is because of like databases and sharing of information. So he's not wrong about that. But we've kind of come up to the point in technology where like any more surveillance is going to tread on civil liberties. And
Right.
he is a person who's in the business of expanding this to tread on civil liberties. There's this part in the book where he makes this, he's like, oh, it's so weird that these students, they stand up, they believe in this so wholeheartedly about Palestine, but they all want to cover their faces. Nobody wants to show who they are. Maybe they don't believe in it as much as they think they do if they're not willing to put their face on the line. And I'm like, motherfucker, you own a visual security apparatus. You own a fucking
And the exact same
factory. Like, are you
rhetoric could
kidding
be
me?
applied to ICE.
Of course
Yeah.
you want to take their masks off. Are you fucking kidding me? Like it's just, it was so
Well,
I don't know if he like didn't realize what he's saying. I'm like, you fucking moron. Like,
do you know
you're
who
the
this
reason
reminded me
they
of?
want to be masked.
You know who this argument reminded me of? It's J. Edgar Hoover.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot.
I
of
mean, that
Hoovers in
whole total surveillance through the late 40s through the 80s. I mean, the things that
there. Planting
he did,
moles and
right, and all of that. I mean, that is where this is heading. It's really about ideological purity.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
This is the culmination of I don't know if you'd call it a prophecy, but there was that Robert Anton Wilson line where he was like, the greatest danger to national security is national security.
Mm-hmm.
And this is it. The panopticon is everywhere now. Like we already like talked shit about ShotSpotter. We still have that here in Youngstown.
Mm-hmm.
It still has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fucking cities that are using it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. The same thing about like trying to like all the flock cameras. I think the most important thing that we need to know about a flock camera is there's a decent amount of gold and silver in each one of those.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
get 'em.
I mean, other things that he has contempt for: social workers and helping professionals. They're not named directly, but implicit in his attacks on safetyism and the concern with harm is that he says that the entire psychology-informed, care-oriented half of the modern civic life is dismissed completely. So that basically he's like, well, we can't coddle people. Life is hard. Get a helmet. And again, as Gen X, I'm kind of like, I'm there on some of that. I'm kind of like, maybe put on a helmet, guys. Life isn't fair. But at the same time, I don't think we need to go into cruelty.
Well, again, it's that empathy as weakness mentality.
Yes, absolutely.
Which
Suicidal
So
empathy.
here
They call it
we
I don't
suicidal
buy.
empathy.
I think this is going to show up after I put the theme song in at about 30 minutes and 17 seconds, where I want to start punching this guy in the taint.
Yeah.
I was there, already, but I think that's the moment. This whole
Yeah.
idea of like going against, social structure.
Yeah.
Infrastructure in general,
the list continues though. He has a lot of contempt for bureaucrats and legacy defense contractors like Lockheed Martin. Consumer
A big part of that, because he goes into that for a while, his grievances on the procurement process. This motherfucker must have never read a single real examination of the Civil War. If you know the amount of graft that our country paid out during and after the Civil War, there's a reason why we have these processes, so the American taxpayer doesn't get ripped off. I mean, I don't want to sound like a fucking asshole, but there's a reason it's hard to do this shit. Okay,
Well,
and he's so mad. He's like, the troops in the field want our stuff, but Lockheed Martin is still working on the project that we already finished, and it's like, just fucking.
Well, yeah, these are and this is emblematic of a lot of Silicon Valley stuff. They don't understand why things exist. It's kind of like, did you ever work at a company and you're reading the HR handbook and they've got a thing in there about you cannot use your expense club to take the clients out and get hookers and blow? And what that means is someone did that and they had to make a rule about it.
We
and so
said that
all
in machine shops. Like every single one of these signs has been written in blood.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like
and
everyone.
so
it's the reason why if you read the tube of preparation H, it'll tell you not to be taken orally or something like that.
Right. But this is a thing that I see that I used to see a lot when I worked out there. And that I see a lot in some of the younger tech writers. They don't know why things are the way they are.
And you can't help
so they dismiss it.
And they don't know how shit works.
Right.
I mean, when it comes down to, these tech bros have a real problem with hardware and software. As soon as it leaves their little sphere of influence, it's like, okay, yeah, you've got a hardware and software solution for how to run a guided missile. But until you put that in a physical missile and fire it at something,
what do you mean this has to work at 30 below and 20,000 feet in the air? That wasn't in the spec.
Because physics is a motherfucker. Right. It doesn't care about your software.
But even look at Tesla. Tesla, for their Cybertruck, came up with their own formulation of stainless steel. And it turns out it's shit because they don't respect anything that came before. And so without knowing why things are the way they are, just going in and changing them, disrupting them
that's what I was
is horse shit. Yeah.
It's like the shelf in front of the headlights that the snow can collect on there before it block your headlights.
I don't know if it was like the last episode or it was just us talking, but that whole idea of the permutations that have just infected our society of the look busy, the boss is watching, and how that evolved into move fast and break stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, at least he was trying, we need more people. Man, I swear to God, if someone had told George Lucas that Jar Jar Binks was a bad idea, I think we would have had just someone to say no is the important
That's
note
the thing,
here.
though. At that level, there's no more no's.
Yeah.
And if you watch the video of them after they have screened sort of the final cut of the film, you can tell that everyone in the room, including Lucas, knows they fucked up. But
still goes on to make $1 billion fucking dollars somehow.
Yeah. So other things he has contempt for, because the list continues, consumer-focused founders, like Toby Lanks of eToys, very basically cognitively capable but morally unserious.
Morally unserious. Okay.
Oh no.
Which is interesting because it's kind of like, wait a minute. And I am against amoral consumerism. I think, amoral consumerism is bad. But at the same time, it's kind of like, wait, but so are you saying that moral violence is better than someone selling toys? What's the argument there? Basically, people who have the talent to work on weapons and chose to sell toys instead. And this was he treats this as someone who wasted their life.
And it kind of strikes me as an anti-line go up thing. You have these rare CEOs. It's like, you know what? We're making enough money. We're sustaining. We're doing well. Line doesn't need to always go up. We're doing fine. I mean, the sort of classic example is the guy, I can't remember his name, but he's basically the CEO of Arizona Iced Tea. And it's still 99 goddamn cents.
Right, right.
And he's said on record multiple times, we're doing fine. We don't need to raise the price.
The Costco guy.
The Costco hot dog.
Costco, the CEO of Costco. I will kill you if you raise the price of a hot dog.
Right. And the last thing is really most of Karp's own elite class. The rudderless yet highly educated elite is his phrase.
Except they're not highly educated. That's the thing. So many of these assholes are college dropouts.
I think Marx calls them surplus elites. Just for later.
I like that.
That's a good
targeting list.
So
I want a coffee cup. Speaking of amoral consumerism,
I mean, to paint a picture of this guy, he's very rich and he's in charge of a company and all of that. But deep down,
hold it right there. To paint a picture of this guy in a crowded field of billionaire CEOs who are obviously on drugs. In the crowded field of billionaire CEOs who are obviously on drugs, he is like number one.
Yep.
Really?
He's number one.
But at the core of it,
I guess it was a meeting that he broadcast, with Palantir after he basically was like, yeah, Palantir is totally a cool fascist company now. He looked like he was flying on coke, and like the whole thing looked like it was a sketch, like a Tim Robinson sketch or like a Dimension 20 sketch. Like he has a t-shirt on. He looks like he hasn't showered. His hair's all crazy. He keeps grabbing his head.
Wait.
Is
it like just a white
developers
is
thing
it
all
just
over
like
again?
one of these?
It's like a big
yeah.
Oh, I did see that footage.
Yes.
That's the same guy?
Yeah.
That's him.
Listener, you have to understand, I seriously was like avoiding all of this just to make this like funnier. And here I am just as aghast as you are at 37 minutes, 27 seconds.
Yeah. So but yes, you're absolutely right, Zero. And at the same time, at the core, you've got the guy who sat by himself in the high school, lunch tables railing about how terrible everyone else is. And
he still
you basically got this. He's basically a very Stephen Miller-esque character. It's so. The hardest part for me about this book was that there were pieces to agree with.
Sure.
But it's more of the pendulum swing of things, like things going too far in one direction and needing to come back, as opposed to let's just rip out everything and make everybody work for the military-industrial complex.
And that was one of his points in that 22 theses of tweets or whatever that he put out, where, national service should be compulsory.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that I'm too old to serve, let me make sure everyone gets in on that.
Now that I'm
I don't completely disagree with, if we broaden the definition of service to
I could go with you there, like a works progress
firefighters.
Thing,
yeah, my grandpa was one of the guys that like built the brick roads here. Like they're all paved over. Most of them are paved over now, but that was part of the public works. God, what was that called? The something.
Like there was the WPA and the oh crap! I can't
remember. It was
remember
like all
the
the
second
same
one.
letters.
It was all the 3-letter stuff that Roosevelt did.
It was basically like
Tennessee Valley Authority.
TVA
and
trying to work us out of the Depression.
Wouldn't it be great though if the government just opened it up and said, "Yeah, we'll take you in. You don't have to do guns." You can do
Well-
forest reserve. Like you
We,
can.
we won't wake you up at
Call
4:00 in the
deer.
morning to scream at you.
Job
Right.
Corps, go build houses for
Yeah.
people.
Jesus Christ! Like instead, our taxes are going to
Missiles,
paying January 6thers.
Mhm.
Thud missiles defending Israel. We're not going to get into
Well,
that.
Well,
No.
And we're going to invade Cuba soon.
Oh, really?
Like,
I'm
a lot
not.
of people
last
were
time.
I'm not
kinda-
doing anything this weekend.
A lot of people were kind of like hailing this as like a Mein Kampf or like a technological, feudalist manifesto. It's really more of like a, hey guys, the Cold War ended. Let's do the same thing again, but with AI instead of nukes, and give us all that money. That's kind of like
Yeah, it
Yes.
really is.
But there's
this
another
horrible-
aspect.
This horrible worldview of like the conflicts must go on. Like we cannot
Yep.
cooperate. It's a zero-sum game in his head. We cannot cooperate with other nations. We can't do
Mhm.
like a UN for real, like we should have fucking done like decades ago if we were really cared about the planet. But it's this really antiquated worldview that he's basically like, let's do more of the same because it worked so well, but give us all the money.
Well, and there's even something more insidious at the bottom of this, where he starts talking about religion again. And what's interesting about it is that he's very anti. He's anti people being anti-religion,
Yeah.
but he's clearly a student of philosophy and not history, because it turns out there are reasons that we don't like religious institutions being in charge of a government.
Mhm.
There's like a
Um,
whole fucking reason we
yes,
started our
there's a
country.
whole
See the entire history of the Middle Ages for further
exactly.
references.
Exactly. But really where he begins to head is the old divine right of kings.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The
Yes,
idea that people or natural aristocracy, that people who are gifted should run everything.
Mhm.
A meritocracy.
Speaking of gifted people and divine rights and all of that, see the entire Habsburg line of royalty
Right.
and find out how
And
that
then
worked
again-
out for you.
It's couched in this massive hypocrisy because on the one hand he's like, don't make judgment calls about what is and isn't good. However, we up here at top are going to be telling you what's good. Like,
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the
No,
idea-
You
I mean-
automatically fail your argument with that.
Right. Right. So
This
he
is what I
wants
believe. I don't.
he wants
have
it-
to. Yeah.
he wants a technological monarchy. And it's, I mean, we've joked and not joked about techno feudalism and where we live right now.
that's the word I was looking for.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But that is legitimate. I mean, his whole thing is, and it was kind of, it reminded me a lot of what Orson Scott Card went after 9/11,
Oh yeah.
where he kind of really jumped off. But it's the abject fear of another nation coming in and wiping out the U.S.
Yeah.
or
Right.
his part of it anyway. And I don't think that his arguments about China are wrong. I do think we need to be worried. I think there are good reasons to be cautionary about all of that.
Yeah.
But I don't, and now this might just be me. I might be naive. I don't know that we're at a Cold War with them either. And I don't know that that's something to be sought after. I don't know that the Cold War was a great thing for anybody.
Right.
Nah.
No, it's
Yeah.
pretty bad.
It was a good thing
It's
for
some good
McDonnell
movies.
Douglas. It was a good thing for Lockheed Martin. It was a good thing for General Electric. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
it was
liked
a good thing for stock market.
Red Dawn. Okay.
Yeah.
Red Dawn was good.
Yeah.
My Dawn's Early Light. Pretty good movie. We got some good movies out of the Cold War. That's about it.
Yeah.
Some decent songs. 99 Luft Balloons. It's,
Forever young.
Just like
Yeah.
gems like this in here. The appeal of pacifism is that it satisfies our instinctive empathy for the powerless.
Oh God, there's that empathy word again.
That's
Well,
some
that's like-
47 laws
I
of
thought-
I
power
think it's just
psycho-
more like I'd
like,
rather be doing
bullshit.
something else than kicking you in the taint.
Which for
I
these
mean,
people
it's not.
for these people who claim to follow Jesus, they have a lot of contempt for the poor. They have a lot of contempt for empathy and the poor
Well,
and
you remember
everything
when he had
that
the loaves and fishes and he just made himself a really big Subway sandwich.
And
exactly
then left.
Yeah.
right.
Why don't
So-
the kids want to make weapons? Like,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so, I didn't feel that reading this was a complete waste of time, but I did kind of feel like all of this has happened before.
And it
And
will
he doesn't
all
realize
happen
it.
again.
Right.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know that he's just reiterating things that people have been saying since Hammurabi.
That's what I'm
Mhm.
saying. Is it the naivety, or is he really trying to pass it off like he thinks we're dumb and we don't know those things?
I think
think
it could
I
be
mean,
a
a lot of
healthy
people-
mixture of both.
a lot of people
this
are.
is
well, no, I think it's the
This-
Silicon Valley arrogance. It's the
Yeah.
same people who there's this category of things that live in my head of inventions of Silicon Valley that do little more than reinvent something that already existed. My favorite of these is the ground fridge. The ground fridge is a polymer hole that is dug in the ground that is naturally kept at 54 degrees without any electricity, and one can store things in it. It's a fucking root cellar.
Yeah.
But the arrogance of these people is they always think that they're the first one to have the idea.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
My favorite here recently is the ebook reader that folds like a book.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I saw that and I was just like, wow, that's
other one-
amazing what you're trying to sell me there.
The other one that I saw was in San Francisco. A bunch of tech leaders got together because they wanted to make their neighborhoods better. So they decided, let's have everybody contribute to a pot of money, which then can be divvied out for services. Those are taxes. That's what you reinvented taxes.
Yeah.
Good job. Excellent work.
And so it's what
We
this
don't
really
want to pay
comes,
taxes.
what this
but
really
we'll
comes
invent
down to for me
We'll call it an HOA.
is arrogance.
Yeah.
This is all about arrogance and hubris.
Yeah. And isolation.
Well, he's talking about he's talking about universities, and he's comparing them to asylums, and he quotes some guy. He's like, an asylum is a place where a large number of like-situated individuals, cut off from the wider society for an appreciable period of time, together lead an enclosed, formally administered round of life. Like, motherfucker, that's you and your rich friends.
Yeah.
That's you and your assholes on the island. Come the fuck on.
Every accusation is an admission.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's the law of the era.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes me think of this like decades and decades and decades of basically being anti-Semitic, but calling it globalism to kind of sully the word. When the thing that would solve most of this would be to just erase borders and frankly admit all of us simultaneously that we are all Earthlings. You know what I mean? We're all part of a larger system, and you've got your traditions where you live here, and I've got mine where I live here. But everybody should be able to go anywhere they want to go because that'll eliminate a lot of tension. Just automatically, I'm more comfortable here. I would rather work here with these people and just make it cheap and available for. This is me, being high, but it's all about just if people could move freely. And I know I'm lucky that I got to live like in Indiana for a bit to compare it to Youngstown, and then move to Chicago and have my mind blown, and then move back here and settle for a year, and then move to like literally the scummiest place I've ever lived in my fucking life. For like 13 years. Just, I mean, I've got dear friends in the DC area and all of that. I'm so sorry that your weather is the way it is. That's just all I can say. But I mean, that's given me perspective now that I'm back home. And it doesn't make me better. It just fucking, I saw other shit. You want to see it? Let me show it to you. It's fun.
Well, and
all.
I appreciate what you're saying about no borders, but I also have lost a lot of faith in human beings in general since 2016. And I believe that borders are there because humans are terrible. Yeah. And it is a method to keep people from killing one another for a little while on a lower scale, because otherwise you just get tribalism. I don't think there's. I mean, I'm willing to say I don't have any answers. There's nothing that I can.
We're in a different world. I mean, in 2001, I got to go like Memorial Day, literally. As of this Monday, the anniversary is the last time I was out of the country. I was blackout drunk at the Detroit Electronic Music Festival, and they went into Windsor, and apparently I woke up and talked to the border guard. They went and I slept in the back of a minivan, and then I came back and woke up and talked with the border guard, and they left me in a parking deck.
That's almost entirely the Windsor experience. I mean,
Well, I
you
mean,
didn't
you know,
miss
I don't.
anything there.
I may or may not have done anything there. I don't remember, but I do know this. I have had a hell of a time trying to get a fucking passport just to go to goddamn Canada.
Mhm.
You know, now ever since something that had nothing to do with Canada happened. You know, like I just, I get it. I think like borders are important to be like, hey, yeah, no, this is Ohio, and in Ohio we have things like a cookie table at the wedding reception. Okay, like that's important
Well,
for that. But I think I
or
should be able to
or
go to
here abortion is legal, or
right.
here abortion is illegal, or
Yeah,
here you can have this kind of, because these people have agreed on this thing, or at least now.
sure,
Okay, that's the theory. We all know it's much messier than that.
sure,
I'm
sure.
not trying
Oh
to be
no,
naive
no,
about it.
yeah.
But the point is that, like, if there were easy answers, we'd be doing it already.
right.
Right. And the flaw that I see in whether we talk about, well, just abolish the borders, or, well, just let the engineers run things, is
Right.
that at the end of the day, everybody's human. And
Yeah.
We're very bad at this.
Yeah.
Very, very bad at this. We can
Yeah.
do great things if we can get someone to point us in the direction. But also, you have to admit, humanity has only managed great things on the backs of some form of economic slavery. And that's just something we live with. I mean, I see it when we talk about AI, and well, people are stealing things for AI, and you can't use AI, and all of that. And it's like, no, you're right. I mean, that is true. But how much of your medical science was based on Nazi experiments?
Yeah.
How much of the space project was built on Nazi engineering?
Right.
Speaking of engineers running things.
Let's not even talk about people exploring what STDs did what and how that got discovered.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff is based. None of this is pure.
Yep.
None of this is honest. None of it is even morally defensible. This is where we live. And the best thing we can do is move the needle in the right direction. Just keep pulling against the terrible things. But I don't think we can make the terrible things go away.
You know, it's because they didn't let Sherman go far enough.
That's right. That's right.
He had the right idea, man.
Reconstruction was bullshit. Denazification was bullshit. But yeah, like this is one of the things initially I pushed back on. I think we all kind of were aligned on this one. But a tolerance of everything has the tendency to devolve into support of nothing. I don't find that to be true.
Wow.
Well, see, here's the thing. There is no tolerance of anything. Otherwise, people wouldn't be punching Nazis. So it's not a tolerance of everything, Alex, you fuck. It's that people are intolerant of things that offend human dignity.
Yeah.
Well, and that sounds like something that, you hear stone students sitting in their goddamn dorm room and they're underclassmen at a fucking university. And they're saying shit like that because they think it sounds deep and they learned about it in their philosophy 101 class.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, maybe you should get into the 301 and the 401 classes and see what they say about that shit up there. So,
what is that? The whole paradox of tolerance. You can't leave the intolerant in here. It's kind of like letting the Nazi into your bar, and then he brings his friends, and now it's a Nazi bar.
Right. Like, so tolerance. I mean, when we talk about tolerance isn't about allowing people that offend the general humanity of others have their way.
Right.
That's not what tolerance is. But they always miss this. They're like, well, I want to be able to say the N-word whenever I want. Fucker, you can do that, but there are going to be consequences.
Right. They want no consequences. That's
right.
it.
Exactly.
That's all it ever is. We talked about this a little bit, I think, in one of the meetings. I think that's kind of the motivation that's spoken very not as often or unspoken about AI. It's the abdication of fucking responsibility completely. It's kind of I was just following orders, but on a new level where, hey man, it wasn't me that bombed that fucking hospital. It was Claude did it. It wasn't me. You know, and it's like
Well,
you come
well,
got
it's
what
funny
you wanted
because
regardless. You know,
because
like
that's everywhere. There's a concept that you see a lot in corporations called the diffusion of responsibility,
yeah, oh yeah, right.
which is to say, well, it wasn't me. The company wanted this.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's
so and
all
so
about
at Facebook didn't download all of those books from Anna's archive so they could use them to train their AI. No. Facebook did that.
right.
That wasn't Phil the engineer.
Well,
that wasn't
this
Phil
is-
and his team. It was Facebook.
And forgive me
Meta.
for the people of faith out there, but I'm going to go somewhere with this, which is people always want an imaginary thing to absolve them of their responsibilities.
Mhm. Yeah. God's
Whether
will.
it's a company, whether it's God, whether
Mhm.
it's the state, they want this imaginary thing that you can't actually do anything about because it's too large, because it's made of people,
Mhm.
And the other
to
thing, like
absolve them of responsibility.
Yeah.
to that point, like throughout this book, and especially the startup section here, is talking about moving fast, breaking things. He keeps talking about people like they're blocks of X type of worker or laborer, like it's a caste system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm reading this, I'm thinking, I didn't choose to become a degenerate freak just so that I could study art and escape, business or finance. I am a degenerate freak. So when I grew up, I was shunted into the arts because that's what they did in the 80s. Now they shunt those people into politics. But yeah, it's very dismissive of people's individual wants for their outcome in life.
Well, right, and this is where we get back into that, the beehive argument. It only
Hive
works
mind,
if most
right.
people, it only works if most people are drones.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody who's clamoring to be a drone. I mean, there are days I feel like, just tell me what to do and I'll go do it and just shut up.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But the
I know
problem is, whenever you fall into that, they tell you to do terrible things.
Well, I know we need to make rent. We need to eat. We need to, be
Yep.
able to get to our jobs, et cetera, et cetera. They think that's like what makes you a drone is just these basic like things. They don't understand that when we get home, we're looking up weird shit on the secret VPN search engine.
Yeah.
You know, we're
Yeah.
playing fork knife. We understand what 6-7 is. We do. You
Yeah.
think we don't just because we're old? No, we do.
We totally do.
Yeah, we got it.
It's not that hard. Every generation has had their own funny number. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
go
23 skidoo.
23 skidoo. Go look it up.
42, 69, and
Right.
420, man.
420.
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean,
6-7 is just the new number. It just looks like you're cupping someone's balls when you say it.
see,
That's
that was the thing that I got. It's like, I don't know what boobs have to do with it, but whatever,
I thought
sure.
I thought it
Why
well I thought it was balls, and then boom, fucking months later, balls maxing.
I don't.
Is that where you hit yourself in the nuts with a hammer? Or
Yeah. Something
No,
like that.
no. Okay, so funny story about that. Warren Ellis wrote about that in his book, Dirty Little Vein, or I can't
Yes,
remember. His
I know what
first
you're talking
book.
about. Yeah,
okay,
Right, but he wrote about people inflating their scrotum
Uh-oh.
with saline
There's- Oh,
20
no.
some years ago. Oh,
Oh no!
hold on.
Hold on.
Give it a second.
there we go.
Hold on, we're back.
All right.
You were
Okay.
too excited about the.
Yeah, I know. I was very excited about inflating my balls. No, but it was funny when they were talking about that because I went right back to that Warren Ellis book
Mm.
because that's where I heard about it for the first time. And I
Oh.
swear it was 20 some years ago. So this is not new, guys. You didn't invent this. But
That's the
anyway,
thing. There's really, I mean, I know it's an old adage, and the problem with old adages and any adage is that there's always like a, for every, what is it? Curiosity killed the cat. Yes, but satisfaction brought it back, kind of thing.
Right,
There's always, look before you leap, but those who hesitate are lost. I mean, they always say that there's nothing new under the sun, and honestly, there kind of isn't. I mean,
No,
just
no.
if there is something new, well, it was built upon something old.
Yep.
I mean, it's very rare that something just pops into existence and holy shit, I've never seen anything like that before.
Well, that's
So-
the crazy thing about the idea of new. Is it an evolution? Like, where do we count it? Like,
it's only new to
popping
you.
into existence, right? Well, there's new to you.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I bet you there's millions of dishes on this planet I've yet to
It
eat.
reminds me of the joke about grandparents listening to their grandkids talk about sex as if they invented it. And there's a great Greg Brown song that leads. It's called Spring Wind. It's two old people burning their love letters so their children won't be shocked. You know, but it's this idea that every generation discovers these things anew and winds up writing about it. And those that are above a certain age are like, well, yeah, of course. And those that are under a certain age, it's the first time they've heard it. I'm hitting that point now at 55 where it's kind of like someone is really going to love this movie because it's the first time they've seen this thing or heard the story end this way or seen a time loop movie or whatever. I have seen these for years and it bores the shit out of me. And I know exactly where it's going. But that's not because the art is bad. That's just because that I'm in a different place than they are. But because we're all kind of focused on our own thing, it's, well, this is bullshit. And the internet doesn't help that at all. But anyway, we've gone a little bit afield from the book. I feel like we've hit an hour of talking about this. I don't know. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to say about it? Because I don't think it goes much deeper than this.
I'm just sorry.
Like, if you read the 22-point list and you thought, like, oh, maybe there's some interesting ideas to explore here, he does not explore them very well in the book.
No.
Really,
like,
no.
Again,
and I love how that list starts out because we get asked a lot. Motherfucker, no, you don't. No one asked you for this.
People never even notice you wrote the book, and then a year later you put something out to like re-engage.
Oh, that's the I met a globalist in the hot tub with Alex Jones thing.
And to tell you how long I've been off Twitter, when I saw this list, it's like, holy shit, you can write a lot on Twitter now.
Yeah.
Okay.
He probably pays the $100 a month or whatever.
They do have the yellow check mark. Is that better than the blue one?
It's like I guess you turned in some pee.
Is that the gold? I don't. That's probably a gold check mark.
As I read this book,
golden shower.
I get that on Instagram.
As I read this, all right. As I read this book, motherfuckers. As I read the book, I couldn't help but hear it in the voice of the comic book owner from The Simpsons.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Oh, wow. I wasn't there, but now I totally am.
Yeah. I mean, once you read it in that voice,
back and reread parts of it now.
It's exactly that guy, though. It's that if Alex Karp was not a billionaire, he would be that guy sitting in the coffee shop, or in old London, he would have been on a soapbox, shouting in Hyde Park, or he's the guy at the corner of the bar talking about conspiracies and the things that would have been better if we'd have done it this way.
Oh, he's the guy in the alley in Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, totally. And I know
that reference.
Yeah, he's unhinged, and
it's so.
The problem is that guy was right. The guy in the alley was right.
Yeah, actually, the guy in the alley was right. But,
it would not.
Guys are so. It's always the same fucking thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, there's this thing where, like, oh, they had me in the first half, and then it's just like, but then you also have to wear chains. Like they don't understand that, like, they're part of a system. They're not the system. They don't lead the system. You can't lead the system. In fact, the most powerful person trying to lead the system, all he does is really kind of embarrass himself publicly on the regular basis, and then
literally shits himself.
Yeah, and then there's the other guy who likes to throw $3 billion of your taxpayer dollars into a giant phallus to explode over Texas. Like, what are we doing? I'm so bored with these fucking twats. Like, just do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like, really, he really. I don't know who they got to edit this book, but there's stuff in here that's just like really. The red light is blinking. Like here, this passage here. The sweeping away of anachronisms coincided with the abandonment of other normative and aesthetic frameworks, and we have, as a result, unwittingly diminished our capacity to discern and indeed judge what is good. Yeah, we got rid of Eurocentric frameworks. Yeah. It's these passages where he's like unabashedly going on about how, like, doesn't say it, but he's going on about how certain cultures are better and have accomplished more than other cultures, and that we should
Colonialism,
be ashamed
anybody?
of
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
It gets
Also-
really fashy. Another one here, and I'll read it in comic voice. But should we be left with no means of discerning between art that moves us forward, ideas that advance humanity's cause, and those that do not?
Yeah.
Art that moves us forward is a fashy fucking.
And so here's the thing.
yeah.
Let's talk about the phrase humanity's cause.
Mhm.
Because one guy's idea cannot possibly be humanity's cause. And
But
what
he's
does
a billionaire,
advancement
so he's
mean,
right.
really?
Mm.
And I think that, for a guy who's in philosophy, and, I was a college dropout, so I'm not that guy. But even I can see that is such a ridiculous framework for anything. Humanity's cause, as though we are destined for a thing.
As though
Nothing
all
means anything.
Well, it goes back
The
to that
only
billion
meaning there
people
is
filled
that
out
what
a
you bring
form.
to it. Yeah.
It goes back to the question I was asking earlier that he does not answer. He makes a decent argument that we should be serving the state. Okay, but who is the state supposed to serve? Is this supposed
Right.
to be a two-way street? Are they going to take care of me when I get older?
Yep.
Should we just
Or
serve
it's just
them
going to have another VA.
because we were born here, because I was born within these borders? Like
Mhm.
it's just he doesn't give it a good reason as to why you should be patriotic.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
If that
I
is what
can't
he's
remember
trying to say.
who said it, but it was probably a stand-up comedian. That's where I get most of my philosophy these days, where they talk about how patriotism is such a weird fucking thing. I mean, you feel like an overwhelming feeling because you were born on a specific spot of land. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It is-
But stand up
it is
even has
weird,
that
but-
bit too.
It
Let me-
might
let me-
have been stand-up.
Well, but let me flip that just a little bit and say there are parts of American society that I'm very proud of. And
There are
parts of
There's
American
parts
society.
of Finnish society that I'm proud
Right.
of too. I mean,
I do not believe that we are the pinnacle of sociological evolution.
no. Good Lord.
But there are parts about this country that I would absolutely die to protect.
Sure.
But they're not the things that I think people would want. I'm a very ACLU guy. I'm a very
Mhm.
anti-censorship guy. I'm a,
Mhm.
and those things, when you can find them and when they're done right, and they were in my youth, these days they've become somewhat passé, but those are things that I would actually work to defend. Even the arguments, and I know that it was as much propaganda as anything else, but the framing of World War II
Mhm.
Mhm.
was something that I could get behind as a framing,
Well, yeah. I mean,
but it's hard to frame Vietnam that way.
It is.
really.
It's
Well,
hard
it's-
to,
The
it's hard.
downfall started with Korea.
Yep.
But Korea was not televised in the same way that Vietnam was. Most
Yeah,
people
not
know
until
about
MASH.
Korea, but
and MASH
exactly
was longer
most
than the war.
most people know about Korea because of MASH. That's it.
Yep.
yeah.
I mean, they were in
MASH
high
was about
schools-
Vietnam.
Yeah. In high schools across the country, when I was, in high school, and I'm sure the same is true today, they will skip right from World War II straight into Vietnam if they even
Yep.
bother to cover it at all.
Yeah.
Korea never fucking happened.
That
Apparently.
doesn't come up. Cambodia doesn't come up. Like
Yeah.
none of the ancillary
Laos,
shit.
and
There-
none of
None of
that.
that.
There are so many wars that nobody ever talks about, like
Mhm.
the Tripoli War.
Yeah.
No one talks about the Tripoli. It was the first foreign war the U.S. was ever involved in. It's
Mm-hmm.
where the Marines song about "To the Shores of Tripoli" comes
Right.
Yeah.
from.
Right.
How much do you
In
know?
the halls
about
of Montezuma.
Yeah.
it? Mm-hmm. Right.
Also, that's
So-
more an indictment than in a checklist than anything.
Well,
at this
now,
point.
yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
But
and there was
I
this
think
coup
there's
and that coup.
I think there's room for patriotism. I think it's okay to be proud of your country when it's worth being proud of. I'm not
Exactly.
proud of us right now.
No.
I'm proud of the people who stand up and resist.
Mm.
I'm proud of the folks in Minneapolis. I'm proud of the people because that's where the real America lives.
Mhm.
And I even my neighbors here in this little rural town, and they are very conservative. But I'm proud of them for sticking it out and working through the oxycodone and the meth and trying to keep their town together, trying to keep the library open, putting
Mhm.
together a movie night for the kids. I'm proud of that shit because when we do that, we're at our best. but when it becomes about the focus on the power instead of the people, that you lose it, and all power corrupts.
I think that's the thing. I think like patriotism as an idea needs the reboot. I like my neighbors. I like doing stuff at work.
Yeah.
I like the people that come into my job. I like the bands that play. I like being able to participate in that sort of a thing, and the fact that there is kind of a social action
community
about that place.
Exactly.
Right?
Community.
Like a community. You find your family.
Yes.
Like in addition to the one you're born with. And like that's what makes that's where my kind of loyalties lie if I have them. You know what I mean? I don't know like if patriotism's this say the word for that, but the people around me I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that as community. I think that if you are part of a community and you want it to continue, you put in the work.
And that's the thing. I like when I see that everywhere. Like when I get to see it, I don't feel like I get to see that enough elsewhere, because we are like, oh my God, so fucking boxed in terms of media. Like we know, like we have writers we like and follow. There are certain journalists that like are kind of like able to report on things in a way that we're like, okay, this is what's happening, and it's not propaganda. It's not the morning fucking Today Show, distorted down. I don't know who did the journalism for this story, but this anchor is reading it to me. Like there's a difference. We don't know what journalism is anymore. We just want a guy in a suit talking to you, or, a pretty lady in a dress talking to you, telling you you're fine. Everything's fine. It's not fucking falling apart. There isn't a thousand cascading problems that are about to happen because like this Strait of Hormuz shit. You know what I mean? We got these tech guys on it, man. They're going to figure it the fuck out. In spite of the fact that there was that note going around to Advance Auto Parts about how guys were out of shit.
Yeah.
Like we're literally out of fucking oil. I just, it's the Ned Beatty speech in Network. There are no nations. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it broke me with like this idea of being, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I was just like, my idea of being a patriot now isn't that. It's just like, who are the good, it's the Mr. Rogers thing.
The thing is,
helpers.
He addresses a little bit, he talks a little bit here about what I learned to call global capitalist hegemony, and now I guess they call it transnational capital. But he blames it on liberalism and the search for equality. Like
all the poor people, the poor people that don't own anything. Yeah. It's the victim blaming shit.
Well, if nothing else is clear, it's that communities will not save you. No. You need to look to the billionaires, and you need to look to the to those that have the authority and the money. Specifically, both of those seem to just go hand in hand, and they hold hands while crossing the street. But your community is not going to accomplish anything. Don't bother with that. Do not organize yourselves around a community. That's just a waste of time for reasons.
Well, everybody wants to sell you something.
Yep.
Like us. Give us a buck. Go to the Patreon. Look, it's not going to change the world, but Jesus Christ, it's going to get more fiction out there. And
no, and if nothing else, it kind of keeps our little community going because
speaking of community,
finding other people like you, it's kind of like Doug Rushkoff, find the others. And the communities are all we've got right now. I know I enjoy hanging out with you guys. I enjoy our little community on Discord. At the same time, I love hanging out with the folks at my game shop. I do volunteer work up there. I mean, go volunteer somewhere if you're not.
Yes, please.
That's a good thing to do. I mean, it's,
go
it's the
volunteer.
only way. If you love something, put in the work to keep it going, even if the people are a pain in the ass.
Yeah. You guys aren't a pain in the ass.
No.
I mean,
How about
I want to be clear. You guys.
There's that scum asshole. I don't know.
Yeah, where the hell's he at?
Yeah,
being busy and having a job.
Yeah,
I'm proud of him too.
So
good
happy.
for him.
So goddamn happy.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I think that's the end of it, unless you want to talk about Teresa and T and I watching Zone of Interest.
I feel like that's another show.
That's okay.
I feel like when you start talking about movies, it turns into another show.
Yeah, because the last thing I watched was Bone Temple, and I'm still unpacking that one in my head.
I gotta catch up.
I watched Sneakers the other night. That was
man, we got to do Sneakers.
Sneakers is great. I love that.
I'm
movie
shocked
so
that we
much.
haven't, honestly.
Yeah, I've been holding that one.
Yeah.
My voice is my passport.
Yep.
Verify me.
I like Sneakers. Anyway,
I think on that note, Let's,
Yeah.
Don't listen to these people. They're not worth it.
Yeah. No.
They're certainly not looking out for you.
Certainly
No.
not. They don't know what
No.
you're dealing with. These fucking idiots. They make me so tired. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just tired.
Yeah,
My favorite
God.
endorsement
So
for this
tired.
book was Ed Zitron. I was listening to today. If I were made to read this book, I'd try to poison myself.
I'm glad I didn't have to. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you guys took the shell directly into the chest for this one.
I'm
I got
glad
it in the knee.
I'm glad I read it or read the part that I read, if only to understand why not to finish it, or to see what there was there, because it was trying to say that 2 + 2 = 5.
It sounds like that time I tried to read the Turner Diaries. I mean, I did, but
It commits the worst sin of any book that I ever read, where when I'm reading the book, all I'm wishing is that I was reading a totally different fucking book.
Yeah.
Any other book will do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there a shampoo bottle nearby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I have to gird my loins to read a book in the morning is a bad thing.
Look, I haven't read the toilet cleaner back yet.
Yep.
There's got to be some toothpaste around this motherfucker.
Maybe there's something on YouTube. Anyway. All right.
Y'all.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Oh my
Catch
God.
you next time.
Peace.
Invisible change, visible progress. Sacrifice comfort, gain control. Work is worship, rest is rebellion. Obedience over innovation.